Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Multi-Location Marketing Leader. I'm Erin Martin, and this episode's brought to you by Netsertive, a marketing partner who can help you run better localized marketing programs. Today, our guest is Adam Sutton. He's the president of RNR Tire Express, which is a national franchise retailer of quality tires and custom wheels, with over 165 locations across the country. Adam, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I
So
very
just
much
to
appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. So just to kick us off, I'd love if you could just tell us a little bit more about your current role as president and what you do there.
Sure. So president of the franchise system, we started in 2000, started franchising in 2002. And we currently have over 175 locations in 28 states, which is pretty exciting. So 24 corporate stores that we own, the rest are all franchised out and growing. We're on the path to 300 and beyond. So it's a pretty exciting times.
Nice. And I think I heard the story that when you guys started the company, you didn't start it with franchising in mind. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about those early years and then how you got into franchising.
Sure, sure. So I was just a wee lad. It was 20 years ago. So I'm 40 now. The company started in the year 2000. And actually, my father founded it, which was pretty cool. He had this idea, wanted to do tires, wheels, alignments with affordable payment options. If you've ever bought tires or wheels, you know how expensive they can be. And there's a large part of our economy, our country that can't afford brand new, safe quality tires that they deserve. So he kind of found a sweet spot. In the early days, it was more wheels. We were really a wheel company that sold tires because people also wanted those and they couldn't afford them. And it was real big in the early 2000s. Now we're more of a tire company that sells wheels. We sell more wheels than we ever have, but we picked up 70% new business in tires. And it's come a long way. A couple years later, he kept having people, old friends from his previous business world, calling him, coming down, looking at it, said, I want to do this. I want to do exactly what you do. And he would say, just go do it. Yeah. No, I want to call it what you call it. No, just go ahead. And they no. Thankfully, the first one said, we got to have some sort of a license agreement. We got to have something. And that birthed the RNR Tire Express franchise across the country. So as we kind of fell into it, didn't necessarily start that way. I was there the early days doing marketing, inventing, P&P because it was a new company. So not just marketing, but whatever needed to be done. And then I left for quite a long time. Did a lot in marketing while I was gone, and I came back in 2017. So they grew a lot while I was gone. We've grown a lot since I've come back, and we're still having fun, which is great.
Nice. And so when you came back, what was kind of the state of marketing and where were you guys hoping to take different initiatives when you kind of came in and checked out what was
Here.
going on?
Yeah. So we were, even though I was gone and I worked for one of the top digital agencies, became a digital plus live agency in the experiential world, creating some pretty cool technology platforms. But so I always kind of stayed close to the company. And so thankfully, my father still let me have a voice and he always sought my voice. I was real close to the marketing people that were here. So the team that is still here, myself, we were kind of very early adopters in the digital world. That was the world I lived in with the agency I was with. And so I was kind of keeping them up to date with, hey, here's the latest, greatest. And so Arner has always been very early on, earlier than probably most, especially in the auto world. That they kind of trail behind the normal retail world as far as trends and things like that with marketing. So we were pretty good when I came back. And if you rewind before that, it's a lot of, boots on the ground, flyer marketing and newspaper, coupon, that whole thing, radio and TV. As that dynamic has shifted, we're still have radio, not as much TV. We've shifted most of that to OTT, but heavily reliant on digital for advertising and lead generation.
Nice. And how do you guys manage that? Is it the mix of national and local? Do you guys handle most of that at the national level? How do you guys break that up?
Yeah, good question. So when we started, I'm going to rewind just because this will set up the context for your question. When we started, I was 20 years old, very young. I was very, we need to be more like McDonald's. We need to control everything. Why are we letting people just do this? And me and our VP of franchising, we were very much like, we've got to do this. My father, ultimate people pleaser, it's his superpower. Was just let them do whatever they want, And the reality was, both of us were too far each way. When I left, thankfully, over the years, they kind of really brought that back into a happy balance, medium or middle. And so we like to call it franchipreneurship. We're not all the way over here saying, you got to buy your straws, and you got to put this right here in this particular spot with a, measuring tape. But we're not so loose where it's like, do whatever you want. So we offer marketing to all of our franchisees, and we do marketing for most of our franchisees, but we've allowed certain groups to do their own marketing as well. So we support them. They come back with us and get approvals. We're always sharing at our national conference every year, best practices. And it's been great. So it's a healthy relationship. All of our new franchisees, they don't want to touch it. They just want to, operate their business. And so we're doing all of them. And then some of your legacy folks that have been around a while, you get to a certain size, they start to take on some of those tasks. So, but for digital marketing, we handle it for almost everybody across the nation, which is great because we're getting a lot of that data back, analyzing it, learning from it, and getting a better ROI with the national spend as well. So you get some economies of scale. Same with OTT. When we're buying it through the franchise group, as you know, you get a better national rate than you would just locally with your 4 stores or 12 stores or whatever.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned OTT because I think that's one tactic and channel that a lot of people are interested in, maybe haven't yet dabbled in,
Yeah,
wanna move money there or figure out how they can use it. So are
sure.
you guys using it on both the consumer and fran dev side or just one of those?
That's a really good question. We've beta tested it on the franchise dev side, so trying to acquire new franchise leads. I don't have great data to report back on that. I mean, it's with all digital advertising, it's so geo specific now. You can really drill down to if you're selling the franchise, it's gonna be a higher net worth individual in certain areas that might be virgin territory. So I don't think we've had any deals come from it, but just like the consumer side, it's harder to measure unless you're doing a click through campaign. So how many times did they see it? Just like a radio ad, how many times did they hear it before they came in the store? And then you take a survey in the store. And how'd you hear about us? Oh, I drove by. Well, maybe they drove by, but they also heard 13 radio ads. They were served 20 digital ads, and we were remarketed
One
them
piece to
for
the
2 weeks,
equation.
or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's hard to answer on OTT. On the consumer side, I'm a big believer in TV. Did a lot of video production in my former life, and I think it's just the best visual medium to express who you are, particularly if you want to incorporate emotion or quick deals, et cetera. It's just the best way to do it out there. So we were big believers in OTT. The impressions you're getting, I mean, for the math, and when you're specifically targeting around your store, 1, 3, 5 mile, whatever you're doing, we believe it really is a part of the overall strategy that's paid off for us.
Yeah. And I know video content and the creation of that video, to your point of it being, a powerful
Mhm.
storytelling medium, can kind of trip people up too,
Yeah,
because that's a whole different muscle to be able to flex, whether you're trying to do
sure.
video on like TikTok or CTV or, whatever. Like video is a different medium altogether. So how do you guys do
It
video
is.
content and develop that stuff?
Yeah. So, we were very blessed and fortunate to have this idea. Somebody on the team suggested, let's build a studio in the warehouse portion of
Mm.
our home office. And this was in 2019.
Oh,
So we finished the in-house studio, and we modeled it after, I'll just tell you, Dude Perfect. My son loves Dude Perfect. I've never heard of him. One of the top 5 YouTubers. They do all the crazy trick shots, right? But they've got this really cool stage set, and he's showing me this picture, and I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do it. So we built it, and then the pandemic hit. And that studio became our lifeline to creating quick instant content, live streaming through Microsoft Teams to our stores, to our national franchisees, delivering time sensitive information on all the COVID restrictions we were in. Thankfully, we were designated to be a designated, or excuse me, a necessary business, right? So we were
right.
allowed to stay open, but so we were allowed to do a lot of community messaging and things like that. So that was something that severely paid off. We still roll out our promos from that. We've probably made over 1,000 videos now, 4 years later, believe it or not, and probably 60% of those have utilized the stage setup. In some case, if anybody wants to see it, you can go to the YouTube channel. at RNR Tires is the handle, and we call it Tread TV. So, and just a quick tip, we've made a nice little foam tread logo across the back. We've got two TVs, that mirror each other. Sometimes we'll green screen them for the most part to save the editing time. We want to put the logo up or whatever content. But then we did it where you can take that logo off and put the RNR Tire Express logo. So when you're watching a tread video, which is a big part of our strategy, rolling out YouTube content, it looks like a cool kind of auto show, right? But take it down. Now I've got the R&R logo. I can roll out any promo, both internally to my team and externally to the consumers. So
That's
that paid
awesome.
off.
So you guys got like all the equipment, you hired someone who's an expert in video to shoot it, edit, all of that, brought it in-house.
Yeah, we have we call her our unicorn in-house
Everybody
where
wants a
she does our
unicorn.
social media. Everybody wants the unicorn. We literally, me and our SVP, Matt Ward, when we were looking for this, but we were like, he was like, who are we looking for? Start putting out, like, we're really looking for the unicorn. And he called me one day. He's like, I think I got her. I think I got the unicorn. And so she does our social media. She does our video. Anybody listen to this, you can't steal her. That's why I'm not saying the name. But hopefully she's happy enough to stay. So anyway, so she's our in-house producer, and then to keep costs down, we subcontract out to. It's particularly an individual that I've worked with for 20 years in my last three companies. Is just a savant, can do everything behind the camera, setup, grip, everything. And then when we do big shoots, a couple weeks ago at our in Tampa, Florida, we had a big shoot with 15 actors, where there's like 7 customers and 5 team members and a couple other roles where we had I think 5, 7 people on just set, for the staff as well for the film crew. So that's a big one. We all day had over shot list. That's going to give us B-roll for probably the next 50 to 100 videos, all your standard kind of blank slate stuff you're going to insert welcoming into the door and all that. So we really try to leverage video, 2014, 2016, somewhere in there. Facebook, every social media platform really pushed video content as over anything else, which used to be link shares or articles or whatever. So since then, we've really had to I think everybody has to have a heavy video strategy. It's worth the investment. You got to pay the money for quality on some of that stuff. If you start going to, today's strategies with YouTube Reels or Shorts and Reels, Facebook, Instagram, all that, which is what they're pushing now, quick content, you actually don't have to have all that quality, which is great. So I think you should for some of your stuff, and you're putting out OTT content, over the top advertising. But for luckily now, TikTok, all these things, we've got a junior marketer that we're like, hey, here's the nicest iPhone. Find a trend and go hit it. Doesn't matter what it looks like. The lighting doesn't have to be great, right? So it's almost coming full circle, which is fun to watch.
Yeah, and the easy editor tools for marketers, not using
Yeah.
incredible sophisticated knowledge to be able to edit videos these
Right.
days is awesome. I know that we use Script a ton to be able to do little
Mhm.
short video promos or even just like internal company sizzle reels to get people excited. Like,
Sure.
again, you don't need to have a huge investment there. So
The
then what
world
would
has
you
changed a
recommend?
lot. Well,
So what would you recommend for someone who doesn't have a studio, a unicorn, and the equipment? What would be
yeah.
your recommendation for their route to take?
Yeah, I mean, so that's really a budget question. I would say increase your budget if you don't have a good one, because video, there's just no getting around it. It's like social media. You have to be there, right? So, and have a budget, increase your budget. If it's not big enough, bring in studies to your boss. If whoever, I'm not sure, who's watching this video right now. So if you are the boss, do the right thing and build out a team. But if you're saying, I don't really want to have a big home office, then just find the right agency, the right company. I like to always work with boutique agencies, so you're not paying New York agency pricing, which most people don't want to do. We've got, great ones, you're a great one, but really finding somebody, I like to say, you really want to find that one person that gets it and can kind of manage it. They might be the producer on set or on staff, and they're going to help kind of throughout the year develop a plan with your CMO or marketing director or whatever you may have. And then just work for hire out, partner with somebody that does it well.
Nice. And back to OTT. So then what tips would you give marketers who are trying to launch it for the first time or get a program going? What's some things to be aware of, watch out for, or hard lessons learned that you've had over the years?
Sure. So some of this goes back to, I guess, who's your audience, right? And that'll go back to quality. The younger the audience, the less the quality. But OTT, if you're paying money for that, I do believe it should be a higher quality content. So invest in that, look what's out there. The cable cutters, that used to be a big thing. You probably know from the conferences 5 years ago, 10 years ago, cable cutters are coming. Well, now that's the standard. My kids don't know what cable is, right? So look at what the right content is for your audience and just start creating it. When we enter a new market, we're going to have, if we're running 3 spots in a heavy rotation, the first 2 are going to be heavy branding spots. And the third one's going to be product based or offer based, grand opening, that type of thing. Once we're mature in the market, we'll flip that. There'll be one branding spot, kind of who we are, maybe a feel good. And those we make a little bit more quality. We're spending money on the lenses and all those kind of things, but also the platform. If you're going to be on Hulu, you have to have quality content because you're competing against the
Mhm.
Coca-Colas, the Tide, or whoever. And so those are all just variables you should look at and make sure you don't stand out for the wrong reasons, your content amongst the rest. Standing out for the right reasons is great, but you want people to look at you, see the quality, and want to learn more about you.
Yeah. So then, having such a strong digital background, I love picking your brain on all the digital tactics. What else is working for you guys on the consumer marketing side right now, or that's in your mix?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it's a lot of your I should say your standard stuff. I think you got to have in the franchising world national SEO strategy, but yes, you got to have that. But even more importantly, a local SEO strategy. And so, if you're not doing that, you've got to pay to play. It's just something that right now, Google changes their algorithm every couple of years, but that's a staple, and that continues to be there. We also heavy on PPC, pay per click. Display advertising, that's great because it's measurable, it's trackable. And again, this one I'd recommend you do have an agency for because it takes really a lot of analysis and like a data scientist to peel back that information, dissect it, chop it up, slice, dice, right? And look at how to apply it to get a better click rate, cost per click, better ROI overall. So PPC is huge. Facebook's huge for us, for our industry, tires, wheels, alignments with affordable payment options or sweet spot. Facebook is very inexpensive. It's a quality, not quantity, so I can't say that for everybody, but it's because it's so cheap, we're taking in the quantity and we know that we're not going to have as high of a close percentage, but it's worth it when you look at the overall investment. Whereas PPC might be a little more money, but you're getting better quality. The people are looking for you, your service, or to look like audience, et cetera. We mentioned over the top advertising, OTT. Again, I think you got to be there. In radio, in 2015, I was preaching to people's, when I was selling digital, you gotta start doing digital. Or really 2012, I started preaching this. Facebook advertising was very early, a few other things. But I would tell people, just take it out of your radio budget. You either increase your budget or take it out of your radio budget. And I'm still saying the same thing today, but I do believe in our world anyway, on our retail side, that radio has a place. I don't know how long that'll last. I don't know what percentage, but we take every year, it seems, maybe a couple of years, we take some of that radio budget, we put more into digital, but we also add new budget to digital as well. So we have tested beta, alpha tested radio, and we just know that sometimes the phones will ring when we run a specific ad. So I don't listen to the radio, so I'm not an expert. It's the least knowledgeable thing for advertising, but we found a great media buyer, 20 plus years ago. And, when you find one, they're working for you, they get their money out of what they're saving you. So it's one of those things I think you got to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious, did the iOS update impact your guys' campaigns when that happened?
Yeah, it does, because you're not getting as much data and cross information. So it didn't hurt us as bad as probably a digital agency, because there's a lot of wealth of information available, So we're about to upgrade to G4, which will bring a lot more analytics, goal conversions, Google Analytics 4. So I think that'll help, but nothing, yes, but not the end of the world. You work around it. We already had a lot of our data and stuff massaged, which was helpful, but nothing you can't work around. You just lose a little bit more knowledge, you know. You got to work a little harder.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned kind of coming from that experiential world along with digital as well. So I'm curious what experiences or knowledge you brought from your time in the advertising world prior
Sure.
to R&R Express. Like, what did you bring to it, and what did you learn from that whole experience?
Yeah, a lot actually, because I mean, marketing advertising in general is really just dissecting people. right? How do we understand people more and how do we speak to them in a way that's going to speak to them? And experiential is the same thing, but it's in person. And, I started out very young as a graphic designer and video guy. And my wife and I created an agency, a creative agency that eventually I partnered with the one you were mentioning. And, we created some of the world's biggest events. We produced the Oprah Tour. The Super Bowl still runs on our platform, which is pretty cool. So around my exit, we sold to a much bigger company. And so you learn a lot visually on getting people to walk through an experience, to stay, have dwell time in the experience. Same thing on a web page, right? How do I get them to the web page? How do I get them to stay here? A call to action. And so certainly I think it was a benefit that I was able to bring in from when you're developing mobile apps or, Facebook was a client of ours. So we actually developed things for Facebook. So a lot of those conversations go to the consumer journey and kind of parlayed that from used to be talking about mobile apps. What's the consumer journey or at an event, when they go into this tent at the Oprah Tour or whatever the event may be to what does that look like in our stores? Oh, the colors. Well, looks like a male dominated auto store. How do we change that? And I used to joke when I got early on, I said, look, all the blacks are going to change to grays and the grays are going to change to white. And so I'm not trying to feminize our brand, but I want to demasculine it, right? Because near 50%, sometimes over, sometimes under, of tire purchasing people are going to be women. But we've got these big, racing flags and so we really wanted to create an experience that works for all. We have a purpose statement that says we are here to serve our customer, not just provide customer service. Shorthand, we call it serve, not service. And so that's the mentality we want to provide to the store, to our customers, to our team members, but also you got to parlay that to the online experience. You don't want them to go hunting for information and finding things. And so how do I deliver that in a clear, digestible way with actionable steps to take to learn more about the product or the business?
Yeah, I love that. And so what's your take on the metaverse then? What's your hot take?
Um, Yeah. So look, it'll be something one day, but it's nothing now. The biggest problem with the metaverse is it's missing purpose. Why am I there? What am I doing? What's my goal? And people innately in every culture seek purpose. And so until the metaverse finds its purpose or people bring purpose within the metaverse, it'll be a stagnant, in my view, my personal opinion, non-exciting world. There's some people doing some pretty interesting things in there, but I think it's just a little early. Just like VR, I think VR and AR, virtual reality, augmented reality are going to have a lot bigger presence in the future. And it does today a lot more than it did, but not nearly as much as people thought it would in the 80s, right? So I think those are going to come hand in hand, on the gaming for VR, on learning, training for AR, and a bunch of other. I think AR is going to become more commonplace with everything, including driving and ADAS and everything else that's going on. But yeah, metaverse, it's early. It's like NFTs. NFTs, maybe there'll be something big, but it's so in Bitcoin, it's so early. I think all those things, and they may all tie together, will be something much bigger in the future. But we're in the early stages, and so I hope people will create good things out of it and not bad, but time will tell. We'll see. We'll have an RNR virtual store when we feel the time is right. I'll tell you that much.
There we go. All right, so one more hot take for you. TikTok. To TikTok or not to TikTok? Do you guys currently?
Yeah. So I think again, it just depends on who's your audience. And because TikTok has very specific ages, skewing younger, but like anything, it always then goes older. So it's older this year. The demographic has grown the percentage wise than it was 2 years ago, which was very young, 13 plus. So I think it's one of those things. It's if your customer is going to be there, if your demographic, your core demographic is going to be there, then you got to be there. We tell you, I'll give you a quick tip on TikTok. This probably breaks their terms of service, so I apologize. But we originally launched our TikTok as a business and just no reach whatsoever. And so I went in one day and I asked our junior marketer, who we say is our TikTok expert, because she's the youngest person in the building. And I said, we're trying to jump on these trends. For those of you that don't use TikTok, there'll be a little spinning kind of record, which is like an audio file of what you're listening to. And if you click on that, you can go listen to other people that have used that same audio, but created their video. And so we were doing things like that, but not getting any traction. And look, let me just say this too. I'm well aware that we're a tire and wheel company. We're never going to be this massively sought out company, but that doesn't mean we can't be engaging, doesn't mean we can't have fun and be where our customers are. So I said, I want you to try flipping it to a personal account, get rid of the business stuff. We'll lose some of the analytics, unfortunately, but flip it over to personal. Let's try a couple trends and see how we do. And that was now we're getting engagement. You're getting thousands and sometimes more because as a brand, they weren't putting you in. This is how old I am. I can't remember what they call that. Okay, do you know? What is it called when you're clicking on I'm dating myself here, but when you're clicking on the trending
Oh,
audio,
yeah, I don't know.
we're not TikTokers. That's
Yeah,
the obvious thing
I
here.
gotta, I gotta,
So
I
whatever
gotta,
that cool thing the young kids are calling it these days, if they won't put brands in there. They're probably going to create a monetization model there where you can be there, but the personal page will go in there, and that's how you get discovered. So that would be a tip that probably breaks their TOS. Sorry, but from an advertising standpoint, it's not worth it for us. It's too expensive, and it's not as geo targeted, demographic targeted yet. They will be because they're going to follow the Facebook model and Instagram and everything else. But again, it's one of those things we got to watch. We got to be there, not investing heavily on money. And if you have retail stores like me, you also got to be very careful of controlling that brand because that's one of those things that they don't have multi-login yet, or
yeah.
an admin like you would have on Facebook, Meta Business now. So if your store gets a hold of your TikTok account, they change the password, they've got control of your TikTok account, right?
Yeah.
And oops, I absolutely uploaded a bad video. Oh, PR nightmare. So a lot of risk with that. You got to kind of keep the spark contained, but also a lot of opportunity. My best advice there with any social media, find younger people in the room and ask their advice. Cause I'm at the age now, 40 years old, where I'm no TikTok expert. I used to be a Facebook expert when they would, back in the day and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, but now I'm aging out. So now there's all these new things coming in, right? So anyway,
Which,
time will tell how they continue to develop.
yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's a shorter video experience, but it goes back to video
Yeah.
and thinking through the
Yeah.
content piece and how you connect with someone. And you're ripping off some sweet donuts and they've got some sweet tires on there. That might be something I watch. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that's obviously been the trend. YouTube videos used to be this long, and then they say, oh, the attention span's 3 to 5 minutes. Don't make a video longer than that. And then it was 2 to 3 minutes. And now it's a TikTok video could be 5 seconds, 30 seconds, and it's micro content. The younger the audience, the more important it's for. But the good news is, for the most part, if you're creating content for shorts, for reels, it's vertical, right? You just copy that strategy into TikTok. It's a little bit different. You want to be authentic, so you can't just put everything there and you don't want to look like a billboard. You really should follow their trends and kind of stay with things that are fun. But you can capitalize or get economies of scale on some of the other vertical content you're creating because you really, for right now, until they start charging the heck out of it, which they will, you can get a lot of bang for your buck and a lot of views under shorts and reels on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. That's what it's promoting. That in live. They're promoting live, I think, more than anything. If you can go live, they're going to promote you. The algorithm's automatically going to promote you versus if you do a post on Facebook, less than 3 or 4% of your audience is seeing it unless you pay, right? It's a pay to play now, but live will get you well above that. So on YouTube as well, they're promoting that heavy. So that's pro tip there. Do some live videos.
So, with your time in the digital world, you must have been, well, I think one challenge that we all have as marketers, the pace of change. How do we stay up on this stuff? So, what did you do to stay up on a lot of trends? And it sounds like you were in it every day, like actually,
We lived
doing
it.
advertising and exexecution. But
Yeah.
how else do you stay on top
Yeah.
of these? They move
So,
so
I mean, I hate to say this because I sound like an ageist. I mean, again, I'm only 40, but I feel younger. But, we hired a lot of younger people and we leaned on them. And I'll never forget, I think I mentioned Facebook was our client. We're building all these things for Facebook. We're coming up with all these ideas. And we actually built the very first Facebook brand pages for Outback, Under Armour, a few others, Microsoft, and rolled that out for Facebook. And we started to do Twitter. Twitter announced Twitter cards. And so at our events, we create a lot of technology around RFID, right? So if you've ever done Disney experience where you're tapping and you get your photo or video, we invented a lot of that technology years before them, and a little feather in our cap. We spent $4 million on our software as a service platform. They spent over $1 billion. So sometimes it's better to be small and scrappy, right? But we started doing this for Twitter, and you'd go to an event, do a green screen video for our technology or a photo, and we're going to post on Twitter. And I came up with some stupid idea. One of the younger people said, they were a developer. They said, Adam, if you're going to come up with ideas for Twitter, you have to have a Twitter. So until then,
Yes, yeah.
don't come. And it, hit me between the eyes. And so that night, I think it was 2013, maybe 2014. I went and downloaded Twitter and I created an account, and so you have to understand it, but more importantly, you have to have people. I believe you should have people that understand it because you're never going to stay on top of everything. And that's where agencies, again, like yours, come in handy. Pay the right people to know the latest, greatest. They're going to the conferences. That was another thing we did. So and you're getting all the requests, and we're always, what's the next thing? And so, try to keep your ear to the ground, get creative, get scrappy, and surround yourself with. I always say, surround yourself with smarter people than you, but in this case, surround yourself with younger people as well, because they'll tell you, you got to be careful. They don't always have the PR hat on, right? So you got to, maybe sometimes not let the fire out of the fireplace, but usually that's the best path I've found.
I love it. That's awesome. So, kind of looking forward now, what do you guys have in stock for 2023? What are some initiatives that you're looking to accomplish this year or upcoming year?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of the same. We've really, over the last couple of years, drilled down the strategy. I'm excited to see what analytics we'll get out of G4, with that migration. And we're continually drilling down on the data and kind of leveraging the learnings that we have. So that'll be fun. I mentioned a lot of the vertical phone content, right? For reels, shorts, and live. That's going to be a part of our strategy, but pouring more money and more time into SEO, local mainly, but certainly national as well. PPC, Facebook, OTT, radio. I mean, you tell me. I mean, let me throw that question back to you. What's something, does it sound like we're missing anything, or what are you telling clients? What's out there that is coming up we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we live in the digital world as well. So I think I'm always loving when someone's running OTT or CTV because that's an obvious
Yeah.
one that just needs more adoption. I'm kind of surprised that
Yeah.
the is
Explain
great.
the two things there too, because maybe not every person understands those two. So break them down
You're a
if you
good
don't
one.
mind.
I like this, where you're headed. So, yes, OTT is over the top. So, that is the medium of content that gets delivered, where CTV is connected TV device. So, that's kind of like that traditional TV that's in your living room where streaming content is delivered to. So, you can get OTT
Yeah.
content via your phone and other devices. And then CTV is the actual device that you're seeing the streaming content on. I hope I did that
Yeah.
justice.
I
Would
thought
you
you
a
did great. Yeah, you did better than I would have. So no, and it's a really important real estate to be on. I mean, it's, as advertising, if you look at your budget, for us collectively, it's hundreds of thousands, right? When you add it all together, but we didn't start out that way. We try to spend 6% of our revenue, of the store's revenue, back in advertising. So if you're listening to this and you're small and you're like, I got 10,000, it's all about maximizing the opportunity. And I personally believe I would put more of that into digital if you have a smaller budget because it's trackable and you can narrow it down to that geo-targeted zip code or this type of lookalike audience on Facebook or wherever you might be, but you got to be there. You got to pay to play. And hopefully you're creating, what's more important than that is a customer VIP experience for when they do pick up the phone. I'll just tell you, we record all of our calls. Very important if you're on a PPC strategy. You got to record your calls and training, and we get disappointed all the time in our own stores. No matter how much training you do, you've got to constantly be, because you don't want to spend all this money on obtaining that phone call, and then somebody here going, "Hello," "Oh, okay, what do you want?" That's not going to attract the person to come in your store. Which, when you have somebody come in your store, if you're retail, even plus 80% plus chance of closing them. So you should be selling appointments, trying to get them in. But the pro tip there, phone training. I don't know if you can spend enough money on that. That goes a long
Yeah.
way.
You don't want water leaking out of your bucket, that's for sure. I think one
Sure,
other
sure.
piece to CTV that's interesting
Excuse me.
is to your point of being able to sequence commercials correctly so you're driving awareness and then consideration. There's a lot of technology now, and one thing that we do is try to pair up brand awareness and more of a direct call to action by
Mhm.
overlaying the closest locations information onto a brand
Yeah,
compliant campaign. So there's more of that happening as well, which
yeah,
is just stuff that you wouldn't be able to do with traditional that can still drive in-store traffic for people, even though it's a traditional
100%.
awareness.
Yeah. It's all about, I mean, I think this was probably 10 years ago. It started going to social, mobile, local, right? That's what all the agencies were
Yeah, I
talking about.
remember that. Oh
And
my gosh, I'm
it's
getting
still true
nostalgic.
today. You're having some flashbacks, there's some painful memories, don't go too, but social, you gotta be on the social media platforms. It's just a given because people are talking about you, right? So you might as well be part of the conversation. Mobile, everything, good Lord, I hope everything's mobile optimized today. I've still seen some pretty terrible websites, but you gotta
Yeah,
have mobile strategy, designing your content to be fitting above the fold in the mobile experience. And local, what you just said is people are tribal, and they like localization. So when they see, oh, that's right by me, or they see their name that connects you, the hometown, me, Tampa, Florida, that connects you, or the local zip code, or excuse me, area code on the phone number. Anything you can do, and even adding the words, your local tire and wheel store, your local XYZ is a huge part that can bring affinity to your brand for sure.
yeah, and not just on the consumer side, but to the algorithms and Google juice, like that's what they're going to prioritize
The
too.
Google
Because
juice. Yeah.
I heard that from JB Esslinger at the Little Gym. She called it the Google juice.
Yeah, I
Um,
like it.
they're
Yeah.
gonna think that if you have a local service or product that you're have some more domain authority and cred to be able to answer that person's search query. So a lot of the algorithms
Yeah.
are prioritizing for that too.
You're 100% right. Let me add one more thing for any franchises who are out there. Very important. You just mentioned domain authority. It's imperative you have one website, one domain, and then you have localized strategies, umbrella, down, cascading down on that URL. In the early days, we let people have their own website, and you're literally competing against yourself. You're driving up
Literally.
your PPC costs, and
Yeah.
you're losing the domain authority of everybody working together. And so you need to create customizable experience so people can have a localized, don't just have a store location page. There should be a landing page. And, maybe we do 5 PPC landing pages that are each uniquely. One is location based. The other is tire, wheel, payment, so PPC landing pages are huge. But anyway, for anybody that needs to hear that, I wish we hadn't let that genie out of the bottle early on because you're still trying to pull some of that back, so from domain authority, huge word. It's very important to understand what that means. Good call out.
Yeah. Yeah, good tip. Well, just a few more questions for you. Since you are so digitally
Sure.
savvy, any other trends that you think
Okay.
marketers need to be aware of right now or on top of that we haven't talked about?
Yeah. No, I think we covered a lot of it, just looking at how everything's gone, particularly the pandemic, I think sped up our world 10, 15, 20 years for what I believe is going to only become more important in the future is, personalized experience from the comfort of your home. Rewind 10 years ago and nobody would have ever thought, I'm going to open up this app and I'm going to, oh, I need bananas and I need milk and I want cookies. And 20 minutes later, an hour later, ding dong, they're at your door. Right. So I would always be asking yourself, how can we personalize the experience to that particular consumer, but also going back the consumer group, going back, the local area, and how can you build in customizations where they feel like they're a part of the experience? Because it's kind of a two-edged sword. People, on one hand, people are really wanting it to be so digital and it's eliminating people out of the process, but innately in us, we're people driven, I believe, and tribal driven.
Mhm.
So how do you humanize these experiences and create not only a personalized experience, but a personal experience? I do believe too, in the future, I think we'll see a lot more video messaging and personalized shopping. There's programs out there that do it. We use Podium for all of our national chat. They do video chat. We've been testing that. I don't think it's there yet, but I think it's coming, where we'll be a retail associate walking around. Well, what do you think about this? But okay, everything's set up as soon as you come in. I don't have to waste any time in the store. We create beautiful waiting room experiences for that because unfortunately in auto, we got to take your tires and wheels off, right? But how do I remove all the obstacles, create a VIP experience, starting with digital or analog, radio, whatever, and ending when they get to the store, like Disney calls it. They were one of my clients, and when they say you're going to be on stage, and that guest is not a customer, it's a guest, needs to have a VIP guest experience. So a lot of that I think is mindset that has to be set from the top with your mission, purpose, vision, and then it has to be carried through at every level with everything you're doing. So you ultimately deliver a consistent message, which will pay off because branding is repetition of the mind. It's warehousing the mind, right? So all those things, all
Good.
those little things add up.
Yes, I love that. All right, and last question for you is what does being a
What
great
you got?
leader mean to you?
What is being a great marketing leader?
Means
I love this term my old boss used to say. We call it marketeer, by the way. It's like, because still, I'm the president of our company now, but I always say there's still a marketeer that lives inside of me. So, but a marketing leader, I think with any leadership, it starts with being humble and caring, right? So I think those, no matter what you're doing, if you're in leadership, you should start with that, right? Because nobody wants to work for an arrogant, prideful, know-it-all person that doesn't care about them. And if they do, you should check yourself, because nobody wants that punishment or torture. But I think also you should be, we just talked about being focused on the long-term goals. I think that's important. And then equipping your team, providing them with the right tools or training and inspiring them to achieve more. So that might be sending them to a conference. That might be, taking that extra time to ask them, how are you doing on a personal level, but on the work level, where are some struggles right now that we can maybe build in some efficiencies, or a year from now, where do you see our next hire? Let's work towards that. Our senior designer is stressed out and he's staying late and missing family time. Do we need to hire a junior designer, or do we need to leverage our agency hours with design to give them a better work quality life? So, I think, does that answer your question? Couple quick thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. And I can definitely tell that through the combination of like people and your own knowledge, like it seems like there's a very cool culture and team that's built over there with you guys.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time today. It was so
Culture is
fun
important.
talking to you.
Yeah.
I feel like I
It
could
was
geek
great
out
talking to
for
you.
another minutes.
It, anytime, anytime. I love what you guys are doing, and keep these podcasts coming. Great content. Really honored to be on. If anybody wants to learn more about us, it's rnrtires.com. R like Robert, Nancy, Robert. If you need tires, wheels, or alignments. If you're interested in franchising, you can find us at rnrfranchise.com. And this has been a treat. I hope somebody got something out of this today. Just know that if you're starting at ground zero, you're not going to be, great out the door. You got to be bad before you're good, and you got to be good before you're great, and great before you're excellent. So start somewhere and then increase your budgets along the way, and make sure your people are trained to receive those leads you're spending a lot of money for, because that's important. So you don't want to fail at the 1 yard line. But Aaron, thank you so much. Really appreciate our time today.
Absolutely. And everyone has to go check out the studio and your guys' YouTube channel as well. So that's one more piece of
RNR
homework.
Tires, look for some Tread TV content. Our unicorn and our subcontractors, they do an amazing job. There's some good content if you want to go learn about some tires or wheels. So
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
thank you very much. Take care.